Welcome to the Sellernomics Podcast, sharing valuable tips and information in the Amazon and e-commerce space. Each week, we deliver the best interviews with some of the top Amazon personalities in the industry to help you grow your business. Today's episode is brought to you by GETIDA, the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. And now, here is your host, Rob Stanley.
Hey everyone, welcome to another great episode of the Sellernomics Podcast. Have you ever wanted to sell on Amazon UK or EU marketplaces? Boy, do we have an offer for you guys today. We're going to be bringing in just a second Mike Thake from AVASK, and we're going to be talking about this incredible offer that GETIDA just did with AVASK, and we're going to bring Mike in right now into the studio. Hey, Mike, how are you doing?
Hello there. How are you doing? I'm doing great, thank you. It's lovely to be joining you this evening.
Absolutely. I've known Mike for actually quite a few years now, really good friends, and I am just so happy that GETIDA came together with AVASK for this special offer. So we are going to be talking a little bit about the special offer, but we're also going to be talking about the benefits of selling in the Amazon UK and EU marketplaces. Mike, let's jump straight into this offer that GETIDA and AVASK just came together and announced just a few months ago. And we want to spread the word about this. Tell everybody a little about this offer and what they can expect from it.
Okay, well, thank you so much. So basically, if you're going to be expanding your business cross borders, which is obviously the goal of any e-commerce business, is to grow and expand. And potentially, once you hit the ceiling of the United States, you'll want to then start looking at other marketplaces. And it could be potentially your next step could be Europe or the UK. And as you know, there are some great advantages of selling cross borders into those countries. However, sometimes people need a little bit of a helping hand, perhaps. When you're expanding, you've got to consider a lot of things like stock. You've got to consider things like how you're actually going to move your goods cross borders. Well, the most important thing also is how do you do it compliantly? And this basically means you need to be able to think about the issues that you might potentially come across with regards to taxes. And not just taxes, but also how are you going to get your goods across the borders? So in order to mitigate that and to lessen the burden on the seller as they're trying to expand cross borders, Amazon sellers have got a great opportunity with GETIDA and also with AVASK. And that is, we've joined together to be able to offer you up to $7,000 worth of funding so that you can start moving your business across to the United Kingdom and into Europe. What does this look like from a seller perspective? Well, it means you can, depending on the size of your business, you can apply for up to $7,000 worth of funding to pay for AVASK's compliance fees. And what that means is you can use those fees to then launch your business in the UK and the EU, and we'll take care of all of the compliance elements such as VAT, taxes. We'll also look at things like import declarations, so customs and trade services. We can also use additional things like, for example, when you're expanding into Europe, you're going to need to consider the eco-contribution policies of France and Germany, and those are things like EPR. So we can assist with all of those products, and so you can use this funding to basically pay for those compliance fees.
And Mike, why don't you tell everybody there is qualifications to meet this. Now, there is special offers, even if you don't meet these qualifications. We probably won't go into all of them. But for the big offer, to be able to get that $7,000, what is the minimum requirements that Amazon sellers need to have? And before you give that, I suggest everybody, we're going to give a link right after Mike tells you about these special offers. Even if you think you may not qualify, there's some other special offers that AVASK and GETIDA are offering via this link. Go ahead, Mike.
Absolutely, yes. So regardless of the size of your business, we have got something to offer for everybody, as Rob just said. However, the big offer is for up to $7,000 worth of funding. And that is if you are an Amazon seller that's got around $10 million in Amazon sales per annum. So that's in one calendar year, you must have over $10 million in sales. And what you'll then get as a result of that is you'll get a choice of up to 5 and 7 countries to expand into. So that is the UK and the EU VAT registration package. You'll also get the UK and EU VAT compliance package as well. So that basically means we'll not only register you for VAT in all the countries that you require, but we'll also then look after your compliance fees. So we'll basically ensure that all of the local authorities, like for example the United Kingdom's HMRC, or the German tax authorities, or the French tax authorities, for example, will make sure that all of those filings are done compliantly, so that you don't have any nasty surprises and suddenly find you're going to get a non-conformance fine or something, because that's really what really does affect sellers quite badly, is when those sorts of things happen and go wrong. Additionally to that, we'll also provide you with an EPR registration, which is new legislation that came about in 2022, and it is the European packaging requirements and also all of the eco contribution packages. So if you're selling products over to these markets, you need to make sure that your products are compliant and they are basically as economically and ecologically sound as possible. Otherwise, you're going to start paying additional contributions. So the EPR element will get you registered for that, and that will give you the packaging category in both Germany and France. This offer is also subject to a few terms and conditions. You need to engage with GETIDA to be your recovery solution for 24 months, and you must add a brand new GETIDA account to qualify for this offer. That basically means you may already have a brand with GETIDA, but if you bring a new brand with you to the table, then you can still qualify for this offer, okay? And you also need to join AVASK for a minimum of 24 months, and that's for any new or existing clients with AVASK.
That's perfect. So let's go ahead and give the link. People are watching. If you're just listening to Mike and I talking here, avaskgroup.com/GETIDA promo. So AVASKGROUP.com/GETIDA promo, GETIDA PROMO. That's how you get to the site to be able to fill out the basic information. Again, even if you're doing under $10 million, you want to go there because there is special offers there, and fill out the information to see if you qualify. This is a changing offer. Things could change down the road, Mike, right? Correct? We may change this offer. So you might want to sign up, get on the list, and guess what? If we change down the way and maybe we lower the minimum requirement, you want to be notified of this. So I definitely advise everybody to go to avaskgroup.com/GETIDA promo and sign up for that. Now, I'd like to transition a little bit, Mike. If I left anything out, let me know. But I want to also jump a little more into AVASK, the services you guys offer, how you're helping Amazon sellers. One of the things I was just thinking of when we were talking is, wow, if I had inventory in the US, I probably don't want to take my inventory and move it over to the UK or Europe marketplaces, because I've already been hit with a bunch of fees getting it into the US. So I'm probably better off having my supplier, assuming they're outside the US, which probably many are, send it directly to the European marketplace. What kind of things and issues and paperwork am I looking at, Mike, doing that?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Thanks, Rob. So very interestingly, actually, if you are using somewhere like China, for example, or even Latin America, or even if you're manufacturing in Europe, some people are doing that. What we can do is we can actually help you. So you want to set up a direct supply chain from your supplier. That could be, say, China, for example. And what you'd want to do is you'd want to basically ship directly. So you don't want to use your existing stock, because as you're expanding, you want to be putting new stock in, not using your existing stock, because otherwise you're not going to have enough stock to fulfill your orders domestically in the US. So you obviously need to expand with new stock. So set up a new supply chain from China into Europe. And then once you get to the customs border, you're going to need to basically, that's your first hurdle. Not really. Well, it is a bit of a hurdle, really. And what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to basically clear your goods across the border into Europe or to the UK. There are benefits of doing this with certain countries in the EU. Like, for example, France has got a PVA scheme, which is a postponed VAT accounting scheme. So has the UK. So what that basically means is you don't pay the import VAT as you bring the goods across the border. In the UK, you defer the payment until you get to sell the product, and then you offset the import VAT against the VAT payment. And so from that point of view, everything is sound, and you don't need to then pay one tax, then claim it back after you've sold the product. So liquidly speaking, with cash liquidity speaking, it works a lot better for you, because what will happen is you don't need to then spend up to 6 months waiting for money to come back from a government. So that's your first thing, is to make sure you're bringing your goods across the border in the best and most possible tax efficient manner that's available. And I would potentially say, if you're coming into the UK, we can help you clear the goods across the border. We can help you apply for the postponed VAT accounting systems in the UK, and we can also set you up with a VAT number in the UK as well, because once you've crossed into the UK or into any of the European countries and you're storing stock, you start triggering a VAT liability immediately. Okay, so that's really good. You cross the border, you put your VAT, you've got a VAT number. You're then going to also need an EORI number. That's a customs clearance, it's an economic resource operator and identification number. And what that does is that basically then links together all of the accounts so they can actually trace who you are. You need one EORI number for the UK, and you need one EORI number for the EU. Okay. Now, if you're sending goods between the UK and the EU, you are going to still need two EORI numbers, one for the UK and one for the EU. But that one for the EU will basically, once activated, means that you can use it in all of the member states of the European Union. You don't need to then go and register for more EORI numbers in the future. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So Mike, just real quick, because I need to have a little bit clearer understanding. So it seems like in each of the different sort of European countries, there's different requirements. Is that what you're kind of saying, right? And there's possibly different taxes or fees you pay getting into each of those. And is that something that AVASK handles, or is that something I have to pay? And what about coordinating it with my shipping company or my factory to get that there?
Okay, so if you're bringing goods across the UK-EU border, we can help you with all of the documentation that you need. We can also help you gain the import clearances and the export clearances. So from that perspective, you can connect with the AVASK customs team. And if you're currently working with Amazon on this already, you can also take advantage of the ATS promotion. And the ATS promotion is the Amazon Transport Solutions promotion between the UK and the EU. And that's being run between Amazon and AVASK. Okay, so you can take advantage of that. Regarding taxes, once you've got your goods cleared, if you're storing goods in a European country, you're going to need a VAT number. So if you've joined the PAN-EU scheme and you're selling in France, Spain, Italy, Germany, Poland, Czech Republic, you're going to need to have VAT numbers for all of those countries. Okay. What will then happen is because, as you know, with FBA, if you've got PAN-EU activated, they'll basically move your stock cross-border to to how close it is to the sellers, so your buyers. So if your majority of your buyers are in Germany, they'll move all of your stock into one of the neighboring fulfillment countries or into Germany itself, but then they might return it to a different country. So you need to obviously make sure you're covered for VAT just in case that sort of thing happens. Equally, you'll also have, so what you'll need to do is, once you've registered your VAT numbers, AVASK will then take care of all the paperwork. So we'll make sure all those numbers are registered correctly with each of the entities, and we will then do the filings on your behalf. So we would connect to your Amazon store, and we will download all your transaction reports every month automatically and calculate your VAT return. All you then need to do is any non-marketplace sales, so those are sales that you've done via your own website, for example, you then just need to provide that data to us, and then we'll basically add that into the calculation, and we can then ensure that everything is calculated correctly and everything's paid to the correct tax authority.
Yeah. A quick question though, Mike. So you're throwing out a lot of VAT and this and that for tax purposes. Now, are all the things you're talking about right now, is that all pretty much related to me bringing products in, moving products around in Europe? Now, is that also have anything to do with when I get a sale in any of those countries? Is Amazon helping me with being able to figure out my taxes in the US or what taxes I have to pay? Is that separate from what you guys do? I just want to clarify for everybody,
Mhm.
you know, between a sales sort of tax and the tax you're talking about, or are they
Mhm.
same? Maybe they're the same. Go ahead.
So sales tax in the US is basically it's an indirect tax, just as VAT is. Sales tax
Okay.
and VAT are very similar in nature. The US has goods and sales tax. The EU has VAT, which is value added tax. So value added tax is basically an indirect tax that is added at each point of the supply chain up until its eventual sale. Okay, so if you're adding value to the goods, you then have to charge VAT on. So eventually, when you're selling to the end consumer, what happens then is you have to pay value added tax on that. So it is like GST basically, or sales tax.
Okay.
The UK and EU, they just call it VAT. That's it, and they've all got different names depending on what country you're in. Coincidentally, just like the US, if think of Europe like the US, each European country's got a different VAT rate. So France has got a different VAT rate from Germany, for example. So if you're selling goods in France, you need to declare a different rate than you do in Germany. And that's all calculated automatically for you. You've also got reduced rates as well. So things like in the UK, for example, some certain products will qualify for either a 0 rating on VAT, and that's where the government deems that as an essential item, such as certain foodstuffs. Then you'll have reduced rate for things, and a reduced rate is something for, like, for example, publications. They tend to be reduced rate, and then full VAT tends to be for all of your products that you're buying and all of the services that you're buying. Okay, so VAT is basically your sales tax equivalent, and VAT is there to it needs to be paid in a very similar way to sales tax.
Got it. That makes sense. So kind of like in the US, if I go from one state to the next, my sales tax is going to vary when I purchase things there. It sounds like here, depending on the item, the VAT tax will vary also.
Absolutely.
That makes sense. That
Absolutely.
makes sense.
Yeah.
What other services does AVASK offer that we haven't covered yet? Because I want to make sure
Okay.
everybody's very clear on this. There's such a benefit. People, they grow their business in the U.S. Usually they go from the U.S. to like Canada because it's easy. It's the border right there. It connects with the U.S. Then they start going, okay, Europe's next, right? European area. Let's kind of just go over any other services that help them transition into that UK EU marketplace, and what makes it easier and how AVASK helps.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Thank you so much. So basically, if you're looking at expanding your business cross borders, you're going to need assistance in some form or another to do that. So not only do we provide the actual physical services, but we also provide the consultancy as well. So if you're signed up for AVASK for VAT or any form of accounting service, we'll provide you with additional products and services, and those are based on consultancy. Okay, so you'll basically get unlimited consultancy regardless of what package you're going to. So you sign up to. So if you basically have a question about what's the rate of VAT here? Am I doing this correctly? You can phone up and speak to a dedicated account manager. And that dedicated account manager is going to talk you through every step of the way and help you to identify this and what you need to do and the correct actions to make sure that you're operating compliantly. So consultancy is a big part of what we do, and we pride ourselves on offering that as an unlimited resource. In addition to this, we also provide accounting and bookkeeping services here in the UK and in the US. So we can also help, and this does help sellers a lot. Rather than going to multiple different providers across the world, just use one, because then they can take a holistic look at everything and provide you with a bird's eye view of all of your accounts. And this does really help, especially when you need to check things like P&Ls, profit and loss statements, and also if you're doing your management reports. You're going to need to know exactly what cash is going where, which you're not going to be able to do as easily if you're using multiple providers. So we can help you with sales tax, we can help you with a whole host of services in the US, as well as what we can help in the UK and EU as well. We also provide accounting and bookkeeping services in Europe and the UK. Those accounting and bookkeeping services, they are also necessary. Obviously, if you're a larger organization, you're going to have more complicated accounts. We recommend you do obviously preferably use a professional accountancy practice, and more professionally an e-commerce specific one, because again, there's a little bit of a difference between a brick and mortar and accountancy and an e-com accountancy, and that is the fact that e-commerce accountants have got their ears to the ground in the ecosystem, and we know what's going on and we know what's coming in the future, hopefully with at least 6 months notice. So that all helps, especially when you're talking about an ever-changing landscape that literally can change on what appears to be a hairpin bend. Sometimes it just like all change, and we'll hopefully get a little bit more notice than your standard accountancy practice will.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mike, help me out a little bit here. If I'm thinking about selling in UK and EU, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go with AVASK. I'm going to have them help me with all my tax purposes, bringing items in, but I'm also selling in the US. And maybe I want to transition over to you guys helping with just all my sort of tax type items. But I have a specific question regarding a U.S. tax issue, or maybe a question regarding my taxes in the U.S. Correct me if I'm wrong. You have a U.S. team also that is here to help.
Absolutely,
am I right there?
Absolutely, yes. So we've got a team of we've got a CPA practice in upstate New York in White Plains, and so our team is led by Tim Nelsons, who's a CPA. And CPA is slightly different from your standard accountant. They can deal with the IRS on your behalf, and they can help you a lot more than a normal accountant can in that respect. But yes, we've got a dedicated team of experts based in New York, and we can, of course, assist with anything that you require with regards to US services. We can even do things like doing brand audits for you and health checks and things like that. So if you are looking into your business and trying to figure out whether or not you're profitable or not, we can obviously help with those. We can run your management accounts, we can do all of your reports for you, and we can just check that your business is optimized in the best way. And that can mean also you might be able to think about maybe even incorporating a different form of entity in the US. It might be that you're not operating the most tax efficient way in the US. So there are always ways that you can improve yourself. And AVASK has got teams all across the world, and we can assist you. So more recently, we've obviously had our team in the US established, and we did that at the height of lockdown in 2020. So that was really good. We've also got a team in France. So the French team can obviously help with French-related matters, and we've also got a team of accountants there that are working very closely with the French tax authorities. So this also does help, because the AVASK team, we speak over 23 of the world's most popular languages, and that's not necessarily just for the betterment of our clients. That's also the fact that we can communicate with the tax office in a language they understand, which is sometimes half the problem. So we can obviously assist with that. We've got a team in Frankfurt, one in Madrid, and we've also got a team in Milan as well. We've also just very recently opened a new office in the Netherlands, so we've got a new base of operations there. So UK and EU and US, those are the key areas we can help with, but don't think that it just ends there, because once you've conquered the UK and the EU markets, you might want to consider further afield. We can also help you with the likes of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We can also help with the UAE, Australia, Japan. We can help you with a lot of other marketplaces. And if you are a seller that has got a base of operations, say in China, we have got 2 teams on the ground in China as well, one in Hangzhou and the other one in Shanghai. So we really can assist an entity regardless of where they are.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And real quick, shout out to Tim. I knew the answer, Tim. Okay. Just in case Tim listens to this, I knew the answer, but it sounds better when Mike gives it. So yeah, big shout out to Tim there. I've had the pleasure of hanging out with everybody at AVASK for several years now. Absolutely amazing people, great company. There's a reason that, GETIDA joined up with AVASK to do this special offer. And again, I want to put this offer back up on the screen because I want everybody to take advantage of this. Go see if you qualify. And like I said, even if you don't, there's other special offers available to help you out. Go sign up at avaskgroup.com/GETIDA promo. Do it today. We're not sure. We haven't even talked about how long this promotion is going to go because it just got started and we started doing it. So I would jump on this now while you can take advantage of it. I mean, especially if you're, if you're a $10 million seller. Again, there's other offers if you're under $10 million. Real quick, Mike, could you just give everybody a brief kind of background on AVASK, how it got started? I know it's probably a long story. Melanie's amazing, but why don't you give us, everybody, kind of just a brief background of AVASK, how you guys got started, where you guys came from, and we'll go from there.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. Yes. So, well, we were founded in 2012 by Dr. Angelos Katsaris and Melanie Shabangu. And they basically founded AVASK because they wanted to ensure that basically people and e-commerce sellers were treated like people, not like numbers, which can sometimes happen with operators. So what they did was they founded AVASK based on dealing with people, based on conversations. And from that very early beginning, we have basically embraced that, and we treat every single customer as a part of our family, basically. Now, very interestingly, from very early on in our journey, Melanie started working quite closely with the global selling team of Amazon in Seattle, Washington. And we provided some much needed training on the UK and EU tax regimes to the global selling team at Amazon. And from that very nice start, I think that was around 2013 or 2014, we started then also becoming a preferred supplier on Amazon SPN for accounting. And we're still to this day a 5-star rated accounting provider on Amazon SPN, and we've currently assisting over 10,000 sellers to grow and expand their e-commerce businesses cross borders, and a fair few of those obviously came from the US as they came over to the European Union. Quite coincidentally, a little bit further on, we started expanding our operations, and Amazon basically started coming up against a little bit of a problem. And that was that the European tax agency suddenly realized that sellers could set up in the European Union, they could do a lot of trading for 6 months and then disappear, and the taxes, they couldn't ever trace the companies, and the taxes would fall into a black hole. So there was a massive tax gap in the European Union and the UK, and the UK started going, well, we're going to start closing this gap up because it's turning into a bit of a problem. We're losing so much money in revenue here. So they changed the law, and that basically made Amazon responsible jointly for all the VAT for the products that are sold on their platform. And those OMPs, or online marketplaces, suddenly found themselves with a big black hole of tax liability opening up underneath them. Following on from that, the EU suddenly realised that the UK had a really good piece of legislation, and they kind of took it off us and said, "Can we borrow it?" And we were like, "Yeah, sure, go for it." And then all of the European tax offices started closing all of their nets as well. So Amazon bore the Panny You promotion, and that was basically so that they could mitigate some of this liability, but also help entrepreneurship and help to expand sellers at the same time. And what was happening was they were providing free registration and also a year's worth of compliance fees with AVASK or another tax provider, and you wouldn't need to pay a penny, and you would just then become automatically compliant, and then there was no problem. All of the tax issue and all the tax liability for Amazon disappeared suddenly overnight, and that gave them time to implement new systems, which would then stop a seller from selling if they didn't have valid credentials. And from that point onwards, it's a little bit of history. We obviously were starting to suddenly see huge volumes of sellers who had to suddenly become compliant overnight. Otherwise, they were going to start getting shut down because the tax authorities were going to go, yeah, we're shutting you down if you haven't got the valid credentials. So we started registering all of these sellers, and we worked very, very hard to basically get as many of those on board. And throughout this growth, we were able to add a lot of other offices around Europe and around the world to our network of offices. And we were also, and we found those offices, able to process all of the paperwork that was needed in record times, and it was very happy days. Since the end of the Pan-EU promotion, obviously there have been other changes that have been going on. The fallout of Brexit happened, which suddenly meant there's a massive brick wall between the UK and the EU in the middle of the English Channel. So we basically started finding that our sellers were saying to us, we've got a bit of a problem. We've suddenly got no way of clearing our goods across the border. The shipping company is not helping. We're stuck. What can we do? So we innovated again, and we started giving indirect representation to our clients, which basically meant we could act on their behalf to clear goods across the customs borders. And from that point, we bought another promotion with Amazon, which was the ATS promotion. And that is where we're now currently helping us and assisting sellers to basically to get their goods across the UK-EU border. At the same time of all that happening, you then had EPR starting up, and that's all of the new eco legislation that's going on in Europe. And again, we've innovated again and set up, and we were one of the first providers to be offering EPR services so that we could register and ensure all of our sellers were compliant with the new legislation that was coming in. And as we've started becoming and innovating these new services, we have started to add total compliance in Europe and the marketplaces where we're operating to ensure that our sellers are never caught short, and to know that there's always a solution available. And that is where the brief history of AVASK sort of ends as in today's market. It's because we are innovating and developing new systems to try and assist sellers. And the whole idea of AVASK is to basically make it as easy as possible for sellers to sell their products cross-border. And why be a tax expert? Why try and be a tax expert when you're an e-commerce entrepreneur? Let the tax expert take care of it, and let us try and help you to accelerate your business cross borders. And that's where we sort of are today.
That's excellent. If you didn't get from that, the AVASK have been around a long time is what Mike is saying overall. They know what they're doing. They've been around a long time, just like GETIDA. We've been around, I think coming up this year is 9 years we've been in this business doing refunds and reimbursements. Again, there's a reason why AVASK and GETIDA came together to offer this special promotion. AVASKgroup.com/GETIDA promo. Take advantage of it now. Like we said, it could go away soon. It's definitely going to be a limited time thing. So I would definitely jump on there right now. Go to AVASKgroup.com/GETIDA promo. Mike, absolutely amazing having you on. Great information, like always, which I knew you would bring. You always do. You're so charismatic with the way you present everything. And again, it's also experience. Mike's been around a long time. He knows what he's talking about. And AVASK knows what they're doing. If you're even thinking of expanding over there, head on over to AVASKgroup.com/GETIDA promo. See if you qualify. Even if you don't, take advantage of some of the other offers that we have for you. Mike, amazing having you on. I'm hoping to see you a few times this year at some trade shows. I know hopefully at least one.
I hope so.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming on and helping educate everybody on this amazing offer that we have going between AVASK and GETIDA, and also sharing some amazing knowledge on the benefits of selling in the Amazon UK and EU marketplaces. Definitely a benefit to Amazon sellers that are looking to grow or looking for more resources, more money they could bring in from other areas. So thanks again, Mike. Anything else you want to add? We appreciate you having on.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. I think, there's so much that people need to do at the moment, e-commerce sellers particularly, to try and keep themselves above and operating compliantly. And I think it's so very important to deploy the right expert at the right time to assist you. And I know that GETIDA, they are the ones that, they bring countless value also to Amazon sellers. And, I think that's it's a testament to the fact that AVASK and GETIDA have joined together for this promotion as well. It's the fact that we both offer these services that are so essential to selling online.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll also put that link down in the description if you're watching this on any one of our social medias. Mike, thank you so much. You have a great day. I appreciate you. Appreciate AVASK like always. It's this amazing partnership. People need to take advantage of it. Take care, Mike. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Cheers, Rob.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Sellernomics Podcast. Special thanks to our sponsor, GETIDA. Did you know that Amazon probably owes you money for FBA reimbursements? Get $400 in free FBA reimbursements at getida.com/sellernomics. Be sure to join us again next week for more great tips on how to grow your business. And thanks again for listening.